8:30, but all the August meeting of the Finance Committee to order. May we have a roll call, please?
Bruce Paulson.
Here.
Don Pettit. Ron Kinsley. Tom Duffy.
Here.
Stacy Dessel.
Ron's on. Okay. Ron, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. All right. Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Did we comply with the meeting?
The meeting of the notice of the public and meeting as required by section 1924 of the Wisconsin statutes.
Thank you. And the agenda, any comments on the agenda? It's been published, so we probably can't change it. All right, public comments. Any member of the public here that would want to make a comment? Yes, ma'am.
Linda Zilmer, 902 Holly Hill Lane, Edgewater property owner. And the public comment that I have today is to request that this committee, as well as I've been requesting other committees, set a September future agenda item to take a look at reviewing the draft comprehensive plan. At this month's August County Board meeting, there's going to be a recommendation coming forward from the Planning Committee, who worked with Northwest Regional Planning to develop the draft plan, to set a future public hearing date, and due to publications requirements, it can't be set, the public hearing for the comp plan can't be set any sooner than October. So it does not delay the process. Committees look at the comprehensive plan at their committee meetings in September. And then my further suggestion is consider that since both the comprehensive plan and the 2022 budget require a public hearing, hold them together, because I do think that it's important to at least have the opportunity for public input as you set budget. What are some of the priorities that maybe should be considered, or if you have to make some tough choices on what to fund, what not, it provides input when you look at where the plan is headed. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to approve the July minutes of the Finance Committee. Okay, motion made. Seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, American Rescue Plan Act update. Is anybody going to give us an update?
Mike can start on the reporting end of things since he's going to be filing that.
Yeah, well, there is a filing due the end of this month, and its purpose is to just reflect what you've spent or obligated to spend from the time you've received the funds through the end of July.
Right.
And I don't think we've done either at this point.
No.
We've applied for a grant, but we don't know yet when
Right.
we received it, so it's
Right.
not obligated. So
That's right.
So it should be a fairly simple filing for us.
All right.
This time around. There's another filing in a couple months.
Yeah. So you've listened to the Treasury guidelines or whatever they.
Some of them I have. I haven't listened to them all, but
Okay.
The latest FAQ was updated, I think, July 19th, and we're still awaiting the final rules.
Any idea what that's going to be?
It should be soon. I mean, they've had the comment period closed now for a couple weeks, and so they're
Right.
probably incorporating those things into the final.
The town of Hayward expressed some interest in helping the housing authority fund a purchase of an office building. And the housing authority director said that that's allowable under this act. Is that true?
I think there's
nonprofit.
well, yeah, I mean, I don't know definitively, but there is where you're helping the public with housing type things. There is some of that allowed. That specific case.
All right.
It's always in the details.
Yeah, so she will probably be sending you a letter or email asking for problem is we don't qualify because we've got the third or fourth highest assessed value in the county, I mean, in the state, you know, and that you lose 30, 40 points or something like that, you know, just about, you know, so. All right. That's it on the American Rescue Plan. Courthouse construction remodel funding plan. Do we have one?
Well, we do. We've had some chatter this week through committees, Public Works Committee, the Ad Hoc Committee, staff meeting with all of the staff involved in the project to finalize the schematic design that is going to be moving forward from Venture Architect to Myron Construction. So that has been approved by the Ad Hoc Committee. The design as it stands now was approved last night at Public Works, go to the board, and then we'll do the presentation again at the county board meeting next week, just to update everyone on where we're at with the plan design. That schematic plan design has a lot of details in it, but it's the first kick at it as far as getting cost figures from Myron. So they'll take all of that information, you know, down to HVAC and lighting and electrical and plumbing and all the things that are detailed in that plan, and come up with a first crack at the cost. So then we'll see how far away we are from our intended budget here. And then, right, yes, I'm sure. So then we'll, you know, keep working on that plan as we move forward to probably bidding in either December, January kind of time frame is what they're thinking. Depending on, you know, if we stay on schedule and depending on the market conditions, which are continuing to fluctuate. So we are currently, you know, on schedule. They're comfortable with the direction we're headed here, and that's where we're at with the plan currently. So we've also talked to PMA, which is the next item on the agenda, you know, to start planning the bonding that we would need to do and the timing of that. And we can talk more about that when we get to the next item. But that's where we're at with the plan as of today.
Okay. All right. Any questions, Tom, on the courthouse construction? Okay, then PMA, we want to move on to the financial advisor agreement.
Yeah, so this is an agreement with PMA Financial Advisors, and they also have the updated municipal advisor disclosure statement, which they are required by law to provide. And so there you have it. But the advisor agreement would obligate us then to use PMA for the financial advisor for the bond issue that we would do. And so that, and we've been working with Ryan throughout this process. You know, they'll do a good job for us.
And on page 8 of the agreement, it lists the fees, and I think I've asked, how does this compare with other fees that the people in our region are paying?
Well, this is a small issue for financial advisors. You know, there's a breakdown there up to
Right.
you know, $7.5 million. We're probably talking 8, but he said that they would do it for the you know, the first level fee there, and that is comparable, if not lower, than the others that, you know, we looked at Ellers.
Okay.
I think the ones that we used last time either aren't around anymore, got incorporated somewhere, but.
Okay, but you're satisfied that this fee is reasonable?
Yes.
More
Yes.
than reasonable. And it says second issue, third issue. What does that mean?
That's if there's other issues within the same, you know, like there's a process that they have to go through as far as getting us, you know, bond rating
Right.
and all those other things.
Right.
So if we do more than one issue, then the price goes down because a lot of that work is done.
All right, so it's probably not going to happen for us.
Right.
Okay. So they would charge us roughly $23,000 for all of the work.
At the most, yeah, it's hopefully will be the 18.5 number.
Yeah, okay. And there's no other additional add-ons or time and materials for anything?
No, that's a flat fee, and then we would also incur costs for the council, which would be rolled into the debt.
Okay. So you're looking for approval of this to pass on
Yes.
to the county? Do we have to pass it on to the county board? I would assume.
Not necessarily. I mean, it's done according to the purchasing policy,
Okay.
but you know, you can pass it to the board certainly, so that we keep everything in front of the board.
But I mean, I don't know. I guess that, anybody have any opinion on it? Ask Creed if he wants it.
We've approved everything else.
Right,
So this is just a step over it.
right. Yeah, okay, so then. I'll ask my famous question here. Now, we don't need to bid this, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Within the policy, you know, something in this price range, we look at getting quotes and
Right.
then we can
Okay.
make a selection.
So if we could put in the minutes, the question was asked and the answer, that in case we get challenged later.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so I would entertain a motion then to approve the financial advisor agreement.
Yeah.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second? Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the financial advisor agreement. Dawn, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I do not, sir.
All right, thank you.
Sorry.
Any more discussion? Okay, if not, all in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried, and I guess we will just leave it at the committee rather than forwarding it to the county board. All right, then the next item is the resolution on the roles and responsibilities of the finance. I think we discussed this at the last meeting. Questions or comments? Okay. Yeah. I mean, okay, motion's been made. Okay. Okay, if it's short.
You know, I always get up here. My name is Linda Zilmer, and I've already stated my address and that I own property in Edgewater. For the benefit of the zoning committee recently, because my comments are always questions, I had to remind folks that I'm a fourth generation Edgewater property owner. Come from a history of local government involvement. I'm invested in the community, left big cities and gave up a lot of amenities and opportunities to move here for some of the things that are available. And I don't ever mention either that I've had over 30 years in private and public accounting. My public accounting experience was primarily in audit. And so when I look at the roles and responsibilities, and I have watched this county operate since probably 2005 under both the county coordinator form of government where committees reviewed bills to the transition to having a county administrator. I really think that there are a lot of gaps in checks and balances. This roles and responsibilities as drafted does not talk about planning, projections, or audits, internal audits to prevent some of the things that I have seen happen. And it says nothing about this committee developing policy. All the action items are about approving and reviewing. And it's a very passive set of roles and responsibilities. And it does little, as I read it, to take an active role in better managing and planning and developing policy. So I would ask that, although you wanted me to keep it brief today, I would be happy to suggest in the future some language, but I don't think that helps the county as drafted in fulfilling the role of this committee and helping the county board move forward under finance or accounting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. No second. I think Ron said, didn't you? Ron seconded. Okay. Don, any discussions on the roles and responsibility?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. No further discussion. Then all in favor of approving the resolution, Finance Committee roles and responsibilities? Okay. All right. All right.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Opposed? Nay? Okay, motion carried. All right, the next item is the per diem worksheet. This rather hot potato was handed to us from the admin committee. And I presented a couple of options in the worksheet. And so I just, for discussion, if we increase if we went up 10%, a 10% increase, then the fee would be $55 per meeting. If we reduce the chairman's salary from $7,200 to $5,000, that would have an adverse impact on the budget of a little over $1,000. And I think for me, a 10% increase is high, but it's certainly a lot better than going to $60 a meeting, which is a 20% increase. So if we approve this, forward it to the county board, whatever this is, then it would take, and the board approves it, it would take effect after the elections. So any questions, comments?
The last increase was when?
Pardon me?
When was the last increase?
I don't think our history goes back that far.
1857.
Right. No, it's been that way for at least as long as I've been on the board, Ron. I bet you too. Yeah. So
I've been there for 18 years, Tom. It's been the same.
yeah, it's been the same. for
It's been
18.
talked about a couple different times.
Right.
There was a time when they asked maybe the chairpersons of the committee should be higher than the rest of them. When it came to vote, everything was not the same.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is simple. I mean, if you get you get more for the board meeting and less for committee meetings, the committee chair gets more. I mean,
yeah.
My thinking is let's just keep it simple.
Yeah.
So any thoughts? Do we want to recommend going up 10% or going up 20%? 100%?
My thought is to leave it the same, the chairman the same.
Yeah, so just not change it. Okay.
My thoughts.
Yeah, well, that's, I guess that's basically what I feel too, but I want to at least bring this to the committee for a review. Anybody else have any other thoughts on what we want to do? Don, do you have any thoughts on the per diem?
No, I'm just sitting back and listening and trying to figure out things.
Okay, all right, thank you. So should we just make a motion then that we keep it the same and it goes to the county board?
I think we should increase it,
Pardon me?
I think we should increase it, the 10%. I'd move we increase it by 10%.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? Don?
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, but motion's been made and seconded to increase it 10% to $55 a meeting. Any more discussion?
Does that also include the chairman change, or is that a separate motion?
Well, would you entertain an amendment to the motion to reduce the chairman's salary then to $5,000?
Let's have a separate discussion about that.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so we've got a motion to increase the per diem 10%. Discussion anymore? None? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
Aye.
Aye. So
Motion fails.
motion fails. Okay. All right, so do we want to make a motion to leave it the same, or do we just put this on the table or kick it under the table?
Just leave it as it is.
Okay.
If nothing changes, they'll need a motion to make anything not change.
Okay, all right. So, thank you.
You want to have a discussion about the chairman? Or?
What's the reasoning to reduce it? I guess, is there a,
The chairman?
you're the chairman of the county board?
Yeah, the county board chairman, and I think Linda pointed out a meeting or two ago that when Hal was the coordinator, you know, he spent a little extra time. And now that we have a county administrator, the chairman of the board doesn't spend as much, presumably doesn't spend as much time on county business. Therefore, the thought was to reduce the fee to $5,000 rather than $7,200. I talked to Tweet a little bit about it, and he said he didn't have any problem with that. So, do we need a motion, or can we just incorporate that into the budget and then part of the budget process?
Well, if we're going to change it, I would think we need a motion.
Right. Okay.
But we're all entitled to our own opinion, and I don't think the chairman's doing everything he should be doing. We should stay the same. He needs to be doing more. That's my opinion.
Okay. Don, any opinion on the chairman's, county board chairman's salary?
Nope, I'm in agreement for reducing it.
Okay, all right.
So what we'd like to, I didn't know how much time the chairman actually spends extra.
I don't know.
Then what are our neighboring counties doing, both on the fees for the board as well as the chairman?
Well, I mean, what our neighboring counties are doing is, and it's really all over the map, to be honest with you. So, I mean, what we've got is within the framework of the extremes on both ends. So the Ashland, the board chair salary is $6,450. Douglas is $15,000. Iron County is $4,000 plus per diems. Price is $6,000. Rusk is $6,000. Washburn is $10,000. And we're at $7,200.
So your county chair does not get per diem for going to meetings. This is his salary.
Right.
So there's no per diems at meetings. I think there's one for county board, I don't remember, but that's the only.
And that I don't remember what it
I
was.
think that's how it is.
Okay.
So all the meetings that he goes to, whether he goes or not, he doesn't get a per diem for that because of that wage.
But looking forward, are we looking for the chairman to get more involved or less involved or what? This is kind of looking down the road a ways.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're a chairman,
Chairman is supposed to do evaluations of that gentleman sitting right there. That has not been done in the last four years. Does that make his contract void? Because it's in the contract, it's supposed to be done every year. The chairman's responsible for the county board agenda.
Right.
The chairman is responsible for looking over every committee's agenda. Does that get done?
That's a different issue, I suppose, you know, whether he's not doing his job. But I guess looking forward, a new chairman.
yeah.
Do we expect more, or demand more? If we do, should we pay him for that? I usually see him cut the salary if we want the next guy to do a better job.
Well, I mean, that's really, isn't it that role of the county board in total to look at this rather than the finance committee? So, I mean, I've never seen the board chair's contract. Has anybody, you seen it? Obviously.
It's not, there's the rules to follow. I mean, if you look up the statutes and the rules to follow, it's listed out there, what all the rules are.
Okay.
Well, is there any urgency on this? Can we get that agreement?
Yes and no, I would say, because it'd be part of the budget. So these folks would like to know what the budget is so they can budget accordingly.
Right. But it's, we're talking $2,500, so, you know. Well,
But the next chairman, are we looking to that person to do more than Tweed is doing? If we are, then it's tough to say we're paying you less.
right.
He's not doing the job, that's a different issue. We should address that issue.
Well, can we look at what the county board chair's responsibilities are by statute at the next meeting? Don?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. Don, are you okay with that?
Yes, I am. I can't get my mouse to work fast enough.
Okay. All right, so I guess the conclusion is we will leave the per diem unchanged and we will take a look at the county board roles and responsibilities at the next meeting and make a determination on salary. Is that a fair assessment of what we decided? Okay. All right. 13A. That's just budget timeline, just as for information, correct?
It is, but I'm wondering if we can determine a date for the public hearing.
Well, I mean, I think if I remember right in the past, it was based upon when you guys thought you're going to be ready.
Well, I think what we did last year, the final budget meeting is the November meeting, and I think the week prior to that last year, I think we held a public hearing. That's an option. You can hold it before the county board meeting. Whenever, it just needs to fit in with how we publish in the paper and meeting the requirements of the 14 or 15 days publishing time.
So what our options are: hold it before the county board meeting, have a separate public hearing on the budget.
Yeah.
Okay, if we had a separate budget hearing, a public hearing, would that require all the county board to be there or just representatives of the county board?
I don't think it requires the full board. I think the finance committee can do it, but I believe this county historically has preferred to have the entire board in attendance.
So what are you, do you have a recommendation? You or Tom have a recommendation?
It doesn't matter to me. I mean, in a sense, having it the week prior to county board, if something comes up at the very end, gives you a little bit of time to recover from it or make a new plan, whatever you have to do.
So we would then have I guess, a public hearing on the budget. And would we require all the county boards to be there? Would it be another special meeting of the county board, or would it be in just the finance committee members there?
I'd say it'd be a special meeting of the county board. The county board's
Okay.
I'll be responsible for the budget.
Yeah, okay. That's where I was too. Okay, so then do you want to set a date and talk to Tweed? And we would have to get notice, wouldn't we?
Yeah, it'll have to be, the meeting will be noticed.
Yeah, no, I was thinking how many members of the board have to approve a special meeting? Majority?
I don't recall, but
Okay, and then we would have to publish too once we had that. So do you want to pick a date and run it by Tweed?
Yeah, I don't have, unfortunately, I don't have a calendar in front of me.
In November, we meet on the 16th, correct?
Write it back down.
it's the Tuesday.
Yeah, November 9th, I think.
November
I think it's
9th.
November 9th.
Yeah. So do you want to do it a week before, 2 weeks before? If you do it a week before, that would be November.
Yeah, I would say a week before.
Like the Thursday, November 4th.
Thursday, November what?
Fourth?
When is finance administrative meeting? They meet on the fourth?
That's, yeah, in the morning.
Do you want to move it back to like the second?
Works for me.
Okay, so that's, the second would be 7 days, right? Okay. All right, is that our recommendation then? Is that,
Health and Human Services is scheduled for 6:30 that evening.
so what about Wednesday?
Public Works.
It's a public hearing that we're listening to the public for their input. What if we backed up to the end of October 28th? Is that too far away?
Are you guys gonna be ready?
Well, we'll be ready. I just have to make sure we comply with the publication notice, the 14-day period. Let me get back to you, I guess, on that.
The 28th is the public safety meeting. It's actually for November because of the change in the November date.
That's in the morning.
Oh, that's right.
So. So do we have to decide today or can we do
Well,
it
we
in
don't,
September?
we don't need to, but just if the county board meeting is the 21st. Is that October?
That's October.
So
So
it
the
would go-
28th then,
So then we got to publish in the paper the following week. So it comes out, I believe, the 27th. So then you got, it's 14 days gonna fit in. 1, 2, 3.
It's not going to.
We're gonna have to review that, I guess.
Can't publish until after the October county board meeting.
It's not enough time then in between.
Yeah, it's pretty tight.
you need 14 days, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you could,
We could move the county board up.
or you could publish with the budget we have prepared.
Well, right, we could publish.
Isn't that, you can
Yeah,
publish what you prepared and it's always subject to change.
right. So we can take a look at the schedule and then bring something forward to county board next week.
Okay,
And again in September. But that way you get closer to that October date,
Mm.
just about.
yeah, so what's gonna happen with this then? You guys are gonna look at it? and then
Yeah,
make
we'll give you a date
recommendation?
at the county board with an alternate date, maybe. Just, we'll have to line that out.
So you make a recommendation at the August county board or?
Yes. Yep.
All right, but we are gonna have a public hearing. It's just a matter of when.
Correct.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. All right. Levy request. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. Would you mind if I kind of pointed on the board? I think
No,
it
no.
makes it easier to follow along. And then if you want to pass these out, we'll this discussion. So this first page is just a summary of the allowed budget, kind of where we got to get to at the end of this process. First section, operating levy. Our net new construction percentage is at 0.8. That goes down from what this current budget year is. I'm not sure why, but it is. So it gives us approximately $80,000 operating levy increase in current year's budget. The next section is debt levy. Debt levy right now projected to increase $527,000. Is subject to review at this point. That's just based on what departments submitted for reimbursement. It's kind of fit in with our plan that we had developed. We'll talk more on that in a bit. Next section is a special purpose levy. That's the libraries, bridge aids, everything that's outside the levy limits. Right now, there's about $150,000 increase on that levy. And there's another one I may be waiting to hear. Gary at Highway has informed me that the city of Hayward could be doing a project, culvert project over here, which is on. And if they do that, there's another $140,000 request from the city of Hayward for bridge aids. Gary gives the municipalities until August 15th to let him know. So we haven't heard finally if we have that or not. I do not have that 140,000 built into my numbers yet. So if that comes to be, the numbers will go up because of that.
The special purpose.
The special purpose.
Okay.
But it impacts the bottom line.
Yeah, it does. So the debt levy, the 527,000, that's borrowing for just capital within.
Yep.
There's nothing.
We'll get into that in a second, but it's capital.
Right.
Plus
There's no courthouse in there.
no, not in that yet.
Okay.
But brunette dams.
Yeah.
All right. So, and if there's questions, ask. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep rolling through these. Can we go to the next page? All right. So this is a summary of what was requested by the departments. Top section is operating levy by the different funds that have levy. This is what was adopted in the 2021 budget. This is the increase or decrease on the levy to establish the 2022 levy that's being requested. Tom and I are in the process of starting to go through these. We're really just getting started. We have a long way to go to review department budgets. So looking at the requested 2022 column, total levy requested at this point is 13 million. Our allowed is about 11,300,000. So we're approximately 1.8 million over at this point. Largely because of what you see in human services. You see their increase is almost 1.3 million. That represents placements, people that they're placing all over, but to a large extent it's Winnebago and Mendota. At this point, we included that in the levy request. In the 2021 budget, there was about $750,000 of fund balance applied to make this budget number. At this point, I've got all the placements in the levy, but we're going to have to shift that to fund balance or find some other way to cover those expenditures. So we know this is going to change. I just want you to be aware that right now that's in the levy calculation.
Okay. The debt levy is outside, isn't it?
The debt levy is outside of, as long as county board approves it, it's outside
Right.
of levy limits. Yes.
Okay. So the operating levy allowed could be higher than 11,300,000.
Yes, it could. So
Okay.
if the approved debt levy goes up, the allowed will go up. The
Okay.
way I've got it formatted here. Basically, what we're looking at is under the requested excess operating levy requested 1.8 million. You back out the human services 1.3 million. You know, we're in that $500,000 range
Mhm.
of what needs to be cut. We do need to address that 1.3 in some way.
Okay. And you've just started your review, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. These will change by
Okay. Guaranteed.
yeah. And then down below, the special purpose levies. Again, 2021, you see the increase or decrease requests. You see the total request, 1,860,000 for the 2022 budget. Overall, at this point, according to this, we're just shy of 15 million levy requests. Obviously, that's going to change some. And again, if I find out from Gary that bridge aid, that additional 140,000, that's going to increase those bridge aids.
Right.
All right, Mike, All right, this is the EMS levy request. EMS is outside the levy limits. It's in the special purpose category, but I do break out how we kind of calculate the levy request. The top section is operating levy request. There is on the levy right now, this very first line where it says budget deficit, $50,000 levy increase built in at this point. Again, we've not reviewed this with Nate yet, so we'll be looking at that. Indirect costs, some of the costs coming over from law enforcement. So almost 1,200,000 levy operating. The lower section is capital. 2022, they're back to requesting an ambulance. They skipped 2021 an ambulance purchase because they were required to buy some equipment. Back to an ambulance and a generator and a parking lot upgrade and auto CPR compression system. So anyway, their capital request at this point is $222,000 for a total EMS levy of $1,410,000.
How much do we usually get for an ambulance when we sell it? That's not in here.
I've got it highlighted because I haven't had that discussion with them yet. If they're planning to sell an ambulance next year now,
Okay,
it's not much. They're
I know.
well, but our system has changed. In the past, you know, they kept ambulances for a long time. They were old. Now we've been on a new rotation of newer ambulances. So maybe that will some of the proceeds.
Does the box change from one unit to the next? So keeping the box maybe?
Yes, I believe that's true. All right, next page. All right, this is the schedule of debt. So these first three debts, the 2012, 2019 ambulance, and the 2021 capital barn, those are debts that we have already approved and borrowed for. This 2022 debt is what's projected in the 2022 budget. So that is the new debt we would be incurring. At this point, the new debt, if you add principal repayment next year and the following year, it's $1,503,000 in new debt. Next page. I just threw in there, this is kind of interesting. It shows all the municipalities. It shows equalized values, prior year, current year, change, percentage change. So the equalized value in total increased almost 7%. And we use that equalized value when calculating the tax rate. So that because it increased so much, it does help the tax rate, lower the tax rate when we make that calculation. But the real thing I wanted to point out to you is the net new construction. Like I said, we were at 0.91 for this year's budget. Next year it's going down to 0.8. I guess it surprised a lot of us because we knew all of the markets were going up, home sales were going up. Maybe the new construction didn't keep pace with all of the real estate transactions. I don't know, but I guess we were a little surprised on that. So I just put in comparison. Yeah. All right, this is really hard to read. I'm just going to point out a few things. So this section is the operating levy calculation. Brian and I were talking about this. Brian is from PMA. He's the one that put this together. We kind of broke out. In the past, we just had operating levy and we kind of lumped in the special purpose with it. It wasn't as accurate a calculation of what we broke out this year, but it was involved. We broke out special levies this year to get a little more accurate in our numbers. But it really made this, it was already a busy spreadsheet and now it's really busy. So I think I'm gonna ask Brian if we can kind of break this into 2 or 3 pages so we can read the darn thing. Even the printout, certainly.
We got a spreadsheet on February 3rd, showing that the year-to-date change in total levy was going to be 4.9%. Now the schedule has 6.1. What's driving that increase?
Well, I think I'm not sure what schedule you're talking about from February, but I'm guessing that's the calculation that was made a year ago when they did the
Right.
plan. And so now this year, this is updated with the new information for this year. We know, last year when he did the plan, he was using for net new construction, he was using 0.7, now it's up to 0.8.
So that should lower.
Small change.
I think
The debt, I think, is where the biggest driver of levy increase is coming from. And I can't read this number, but this column shows total debt increase.
well, this February schedule I got is $1.3 million. This schedule is pretty much the same number. So it's not debt that's driving the increase.
Well, the debt. Well, I see that's
Sure.
was going from 4.9 to 6.1.
Right.
The total levy here is 13 million. Total levy here is
13.
13.2. I can't read that number. But again, that number, this 6.1, we can have some influence on that.
Okay.
Because back here in the debt section, the new debt that we're going to be taking out, we can change the principal years.
Stretch it. Right.
We can stretch it. We can
Right.
we can reduce it in the next year's budget.
Okay.
And we have some influence on this.
Right.
There's a little bit of influence with the EMS levy. We can reduce levy.
Yeah.
If that bridge aid from the highway comes through,
Yeah.
that's going to increase.
Oh, absolutely. So, but if I remember right, we told the board last year that the projected 2022 increase was going to be about 5%. So that's where I'm coming from in terms of why it's up to 6%.
Well, like I said, we can have some influence on that. At this point, this is levy requested.
Okay.
Is the next schedule? What's next? Oh, it's under CIP.
Okay. So just a question for the rest of the committee. How do you feel about if we end up at 6% tax increase versus what we said a year ago? Is that troublesome?
It's always troublesome when it goes up.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
What options do you really have?
Pardon me?
What options do you really have?
I don't, well, you can stretch the debt, as Mike was saying, but then you incur more interest,
Exactly.
so.
well, and remember, there's in capital this year, right now built into the borrowing, there's $300,000 for one of the dam projects. That's
Right.
not an every year occurrence.
Right, but the 300,000, is that total cost,
No, that's just the half.
our share? 600,000 for the group.
That's it. That's not a hard estimate. That's just the number that's in there.
Okay,
Jay is supposed to be meeting with the architects to try and.
right, maybe with the engineers soon, I think. All right.
So So that,
But half, I mean, if it's, I think the DNR will fund half up to 250,000, and then it's 25% for the amount above that. So,
yeah, they changed that formula recently.
did they? They're gonna fund more?
Yeah, a little, not substantial.
Okay. Anyway, so that's a yet to be determined.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, a lot of what you're saying.
Yeah, I know.
Even in a second, you're going to see the CIP list.
Mhm.
I've requested, we have not gone through that list to scrub it.
Okay, all right.
So that's the plan. Yes, 6.1% right now. Doesn't mean that's where it's going to end
All right.
up.
Yeah, as long as it comes down, yeah, that's certainly.
Right. Keep-
I think if I remember right, when we did the plan a year ago, the target was actually like 6%. It came in at 5%. Wasn't it? We beat the target last year. Not that that isn't very good next year.
I don't know, but I
But anyway, yes, we know it's subject to change.
no, I think.
But then if you go, well, if you look at the column on the way right, the tax rate actually goes down very slightly.
Right.
So we've got an increase in tax, an increase in equalized rate.
Right.
An increase in equalized rate is what makes the tax rate
Go down.
basically stay the same or go down.
Right. You know, but that, you know, I'm going to say doesn't count because it's how much we take out of the people, our citizens' pockets,
Well,
and the
you're
second
right.
home people.
Well, you're right. I mean, it has some bearing in the planning side of things because you're trying to keep that tax rate constant and at a certain level.
Right.
It's just equal that as part of that.
Yeah, right.
All right. So anyway, the next section, well, I guess questions on the budget comments.
Don, did you follow?
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
Nope, I'm listening intently.
Thank you.
So then the next section is capital. This is just the summary page. Again, this is requested. We have not gone through this at this point. Expenditures, 4.7 million. Then the revenue section, revenues balance. This is the, actually, I probably need to tweak this a bit that I can see. This is reflecting right now for the new courtroom project. We're using 8 million in total because I think that's the resolution that was passed.
Right.
Up to 8 million. So that's the number we're working on. In talking with Brian again at PMA, borrowing on that is probably going to happen early next year, not this year. So I probably need to move this million forward, and that should be 8 million in proceeds in the 2023 year. So anyway, that's just a summary of where we're at. The next page shows.
Mike, you want to, the million that you have on the, okay. Yeah, that's assuming that, I mean, we're incurring costs now, like with the street that we have to pay the city for. So are we assuming then that we're funding that with fund balance and not doing a short-term loan, or we're still contemplating? So there could be some debt.
Yeah, we had that discussion.
Right.
You're doing the California Avenue, we have to pay for some of that, all of that. And I don't know, is this piece out here gonna happen this year or next year?
That'll be next year as well, yeah. But we've got, some venture bills and the city bills, so there's some costs that will incur.
Right.
Right, and we have to decide how are we gonna pay for those this year.
Right. Yeah, our cash balance is borrowed.
Special fund. Money.
So the borrowing would not be a bond issue, it would be just a bank borrowing, correct? Or some kind of a construction loan.
Yeah.
Short-term.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, and in here it shows the Bruni Dam at 600,000, but
Yeah, so Mike, you want to go next?
Can we go back?
Sure.
On the bottom, it says subtotal tax levy. That's how much we're going to be increasing our borrowing for capital.
Increasing.
So.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
1.8 million.
that isn't the borrowing.
Okay,
The borrowing is on the next page.
Right.
actually.
but the money, funding has to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah, so I always requested budget. They request for equipment placement, 545,000. That's what this first section is. That's what we would be borrowing for, is that 545,000.
Right.
And then the next section is all the other departments, what they have submitted budget so far. Again, we need to go through these. This forestry UTV trailer can come off because that's actually built into this year's budget. I was going to ask about some of these dam failure analysis, the $225 item. Take that money out of resource development money and not borrow from them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a question. Huh?
Right.
How much do we have in resource development? That's pretty low, isn't it, for fund balance?
Well, it's getting down there, but there's still probably 100,000 there.
All right. What's our general fund balance? Best you guess.
General fund balance. I don't remember. I don't want to. I've done it. Got a calculation on that. The concern with that one is the general fund at the end of 2020 went up.
Yeah.
Because 2020 is a good year.
Right.
2021, if human services budget ends up like it did in 2020 because of mostly those out-of-county placements, we're going to need to transfer to human services close to $1 million. And then again in 2022. It's going to be ongoing until something changes.
Right.
So that's why. That's the big concern.
Okay.
So that's the capital, Renette Dam, that's the county share, the 300,000, that's definitely subject to change. The million right now, the total that we're projecting right now is about $1,503,000 capital tomorrow. Subject to change.
You just said you're going to scrub this one. Okay.
That's where we're at right now. Next two will be.
They changed.
What's the camera upgrade for $60,000?
That's a good question. I don't know for sure. We have not met with them. So.
That's for the jail camera system. It was installed in 12, and there's several components. There's the servers and themselves. That's just one piece of it. Upgrade storage computers where all the footage is stored.
So that's it.
Yeah, unless you have questions.
I think, as you said, it's fair to say that these numbers are going to change.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to walk us through the budget watch list? Is there anything that we should be concerned about on this?
Well, the top section are revenues.
Right.
Again, we're having a strong year, especially within the general fund for a lot of the different revenue categories. Interest on taxes, penalty on taxes, we're already at a budget. Sales tax, stumpage are coming in strong so far. Tax deed sales are strong so far. Registered deeds is doing really well. Or prisoners are doing well.
Up until now.
Well, right.
Ambulance fees look like they're coming in more than faster than budget, unless this is.
They are. It's something we need to watch, but yes, they're coming in ahead of budget schedule at this point. So, like Tom said, this is all subject to change. I have a feeling with the sales tax, if you kind of go back and look at the monthly history of the money coming in, you can see where there was a definite increase in the sales tax. And I still think a lot of it has to do with when online sales tax started hitting the books. And we're probably within 2 or 3 months of hitting that, where that trend has been there for a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'll see increases like we've been seeing, or levels we've been seeing for another few months, but then maybe I think it's going to increase. Part of it is going to flatten out, I think. On the expenditure side, these are just some of the accounts that I follow. Overall, I do watch ambulance overall. They're 176,000 to the good right now, June. Again, the one that's, if you look at Mendota, Winnebago, the second one from the bottom,
Right.
The budget's 600,000 and they're already at 548,000. That was going to be problematic.
So that's not an F, that's a U, right?
Well, it's an F now just because it's under budget, but in another month it's going to flood.
Right. Okay. So, ask the same question. Nothing that we should be concerned about on this schedule.
I think for me anyway, the biggest concerning item is those cases. And I'm not sure we have a lot we can do with them.
No. Don, do you have any questions on the budget or the watch list?
Nope, I've been listening.
Okay. All right.
Just to summarize those thoughts then too, the normal budget conundrum we have with paring down to get under the levy limits, we do that every year. But the elephant in the room are those $1 million expenditures we have in those out of county placements. So as Mike alluded to, we either are funding that out of fund balance, which thankfully we've had increases in fund balance that we're able to do that. That's not always going to be the case. So we're either looking at cutting $1 million of services out of the entire county budget. Another option is using short-term debt to cover some things, not an optimal solution.
No, I mean short-term debt to cover operating expenditures.
Well, not the. There is a provision in the debt to pay for court-ordered expenditures. And so we've had a lot of discussion with the DOR on whether that qualifies or not. There's another provision that you can use debt to pay for mutual insurance costs. Why that is in the statute. I think it's back from the beginning when they were increasing their equity for the mutual insurance company.
Right.
But there are legitimate ways to use debt to cover those kinds of items. We haven't done that in the past. I mean, it's an option, not an optimal option, but
right.
It's when we get down to we've got no more fund balance to use, then we're cutting $1 million in services or finding something else, another revenue source, which that could be it. Obviously increases taxes, obviously
fund
Doesn't solve the
operations
problem.
with debt is just.
Yep.
It's not. I don't like it.
I don't either, but we're getting backed into a corner.
Right, well, you guys have to be just more convincing at the state level. Okay, and anything else, Mike? I've got your sales tax graph showing
Yep, that's,
good year to date.
yep, that was Diane's graph.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't have anything at this point.
Dawn, do you have anything else before we adjourn?
No, I do not, sir.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. We're adjourned.
Thank you.